Hey guys, and welcome back to DB Talks. And today we're not going to be breaking down a single game. It's more of a full Barca news roundup. And honestly, there's a lot been going on around Barca's kind of news and overall just um, camp where a lot of things have been going on recently. And the main thing we're going to talk about is Joan Laporta being re-elected as the president. And he honestly had a landslide vote where he kind of won, and there was a lot of moments around that whole election. And we're also going to be talking about some transfer rumors that have been kind of heating up, including Bastoni. And yeah, we'll just cover any other noise around the squad and any other summer plans that have been discussed recently in the news. But I mean, yeah, the major thing was that Laporta ended up being re-elected, and again on Sunday, a lot of Barca members were back at the polls at the Spotify Camp Nou, and they were voting to choose their president for the next 5 years. And at the end, Joan Laporta ended up cruising it with getting 32,000 out of like 48,000 votes, and that's roughly 68%. So yeah, he ended up cruising the votes, and this wasn't it wasn't really close between him and Victor Fons. And again, I feel like a lot of the players were backing Laporta. A lot of even the women's players were backing him. A lot of players like Yamal were posting him in his IG stories. And yeah, I just feel like overall a lot of people were backing Laporta. So it wasn't too surprising to see him win by such a big landslide. But again, I do feel like he does deserve it because since he came in approximately 4 years ago, I do think he's done a very very good job in rebuilding the squad and making our overall team much better. I mean, even if you look at it recently, we've won a domestic treble last season. The appointment of Hansi Flick has been really crucial for the squad. And overall, just we've reached the semi-final of the UCL last season, and this season we also look to be promising. So hopefully, I mean, yeah, you can't really complain about Joan Laporta's second tenure, and I think so far he does deserve to continue. And then yeah, this was kind of a repeat of 2021 where Laporta also beat Victor Font convincingly, and again now he's locked in until 2034, 2031 if he does end up finishing the term. And again, I do feel like the whole Javi era, the Flick appointment was just a lot of big moments in Flick Laporta's overall tenure. But yeah, hopefully he does continue. And yeah, he does see the opening of the new Spotify Camp Nou, and as you mentioned in the previous video, like, it's up to now 60,000. So the fans are starting to climb in, and it's really good to see that the Camp Nou is really like becoming back to its like original, I guess, structure. And I think the main thing around the whole Laporta re-election was the Flick appointment, because I do think Flick was like one of the best things that Laporta did when he did get elected. And again, we've seen how much better the squad's become with the whole Flick appointment. I think again, I think if someone like a Victor Font came, it could have costed the team to lose a manager like Hansi Flick. So again, I do feel a lot of people backed Laporta for that reason. But yeah, what were your overall thoughts on the whole election, Brijesh?
Yeah, so just talking about the two main candidates, I think definitely between the two, Joan Laporta, he's been president a few times. You know, he was the president in 2021. He got elected in 2021, but even before that, he was the president before. And um, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he was the person that got Pep as the manager. Um, I believe he was the manager. He was the president back then as well. But yeah, Laporta, I think overall has a very big influence on Barca, especially recently. And we know that during Barca's dark era, where Barca were struggling, both with like just the squad and also just the news going around. Ever since, because it was also the reason why Messi had to leave Barca, and also the whole Xavi, the whole. But I still feel like with disregarding like the controversies, I feel like he's done a lot. He's done a lot to really restore the club to the glory that Barca really was in, and to recover the depth that Barca were in. And I think he's done a pretty good job at it. And I think he's definitely helped Barca maintain a much higher status than before he became the president in 2021. So I feel like definitely seeing everything he's done so far, it definitely helped him win this election, because people have seen the work he's done, and he was able to change the way Barca is, and on the big moves he's made, in both getting money for Barca by signing a lot of deals, and having to sell a lot of VIP seats and just to make a lot of deals with like TV companies and all that. He made a lot of sponsor deals as well. So he's definitely done a lot in the business part of Barcelona to get money. And then talking about the signings, I mean the signings during his reign also have been very good. I mean we've seen huge signings like Lewandowski, Rafinha, who we know how Rafinha's worked, and then Cunha is also a big one. And that whole 2022 summer like that whole window is definitely huge for Barca with a lot of big signings. And then some other signs that he also made. I mean, we saw recently. Well, he didn't make the signs, but I mean, like during his tenure, we also seen like the Joan Garcia appointment. But like you said, the Flick, I say the Flick appointment that was his decision actually. I think that was probably um the most impactful. I would say we've seen the squad and how it should become a pretty big contender, and winning all these trophies like the UCL. And we saw last season that Barca went in domestic trouble and a semi-final, losing by 1 goal in the UCL. That's a pretty huge achievement for his first season, and not even just like the achievements and results, but also the impact he had on the squad and how I would say almost every single player has actually improved under him, and how we've seen him get a lot of unique things out of under Flick, and it was to perform at the level. And then also, I mean, Lamine Yamal at his age is very young, so obviously his development is very important to see the trajectory of his career. And I think Hans Flick has done well in making him a huge player. And I think under Flick he's been at times the best player in the world. I think we've also seen Pedri have his best season under Flick as well. So definitely the impact Flick had was huge. And just talking about the elections overall, and just also like Victor Font and him as a candidate, I feel like he was also, I would say he's like a worthy candidate as well. But I think against Laporta, I feel like it was going to be really hard for him to really get the votes, because I think Laporta really had like a lot of the Barca players, both the males and the females on his side. He's grown a very strong connection with the squad. We've seen like after every trophy or even some wins that Barca get, he's always there in the locker room, with the players celebrating. Even during losses, he's there to help the players regain confidence and to cheer them up. We saw when Barca Gemini lost the UCL final to Arsenal, Laporta was there to comfort the players. So he's definitely grown a strong connection to the players. I think that's one of the main reasons, like one reasons that a lot of people like him, and definitely like he got the votes of a lot of the players. And I believe we also saw Dani Olmo. I think there's a report saying Dani Olmo kind of convinced all the Barca players to vote for Laporta. So I think that also had an impact. And I think you can just tell it by certain players that have a very big connection to him. So it was kind of, I feel like just the overall populace and Barca also had that similar liking to Laporta, and I think that's kind of the main reasons he won. And just looking at some of the things that Victor Font promised, I mean, he was very advocate of bringing back Messi, and he was saying that if he were to be the president, he'd bring back Messi. And I feel like with the thing with the thing like something like that, I felt like it wasn't that effective, because even we don't know that Messi is a very very important figure in Barcelona. But at the same time, I feel like just saying that it's not convincing enough to just say, oh, you're gonna bring back Messi, because I mean, even though people love to have Messi back, I feel like it's not really a priority, and it's not a promise that I'd say can really make you win the whole thing. And I believe that none of the candidates like Laporta and Font, I don't think either of them really said that they were going to sign a striker in the next window. I don't know if any of them mentioned Holland. I don't really remember off the top of my head, but I feel like if they made some huge promises for like the future windows and like signed the main positions of need, it would have helped them a bit more. But I feel like some of them generally touch upon that. I feel like Holland didn't mention certain players, but I feel like the players that he mentioned weren't just enough to really get people on his side, and I think he wasn't convincing enough in the promises that he was kind of proposing. And yeah, just with the whole Messi thing, because I feel like people love to segue back into the whole Messi thing, and I know Font also brought back some of the stuff that Laporta did and used it against him, and kind of called him conservatives. I believe he mentioned also he recalled back the Xavi saga where Laporta in a way kind of backstabbed Xavi and got him sacked. And I feel like the way that Xavi was treated then, and Xavi even spoke up again about it during the election. but you can definitely see that Xavi, um, like he didn't really like Laporta for that, and I think it's definitely understandable. And I think the way a legend like Xavi was treated, who as a player, he is definitely one of the best midfielders that Barca has had, and he's as a manager, and just as a figure, he's been overall very positive. Like as a manager, he was one of the main reasons um for La Masia to be very heavily introduced in the squad, and a lot of the big La Masia players and the ones that were very talented, they got brought up by him, and he's kind of the reason why they got incorporated to the first team, and also just the change in Barca compared to when Coleman had Barca, and then when he got sacked, and then when Xavi came in, you see the big difference that Xavi got, and he also won some trophies for Barca. So Xavi definitely had he was definitely a big figure, and then for Laporta to do that, I feel like it was a bit disrespectful. And we know, because of that, Flick came in, and Flick definitely made a much more positive impact than Xavi. I still feel like, with that, it's a bit unfair for Xavi, and he did come out and say some stuff. And there are a lot of stuff going on. I mean, I believe someone even mentioned that Messi was like the deal, like the preparation for Messi to come in 2023 was ready, but then the Liga president Xavier Tebas denied that. So I feel like this election definitely brought up a lot of like people just saying stuff, and yeah, I mean sometimes it's hard to trust certain people, especially in like with elections like these. People will make lies, and it's kind of hard to tell when they're really telling the truth. But yeah, I mean personally, I don't know about you, but personally for me, I would prefer Laporta as the president because again we've seen the impact that Laporta has, and also I feel like he's one of those people who's very good at like he has like, I guess like a charm or like a way of you know having being very likable. And I think he has a good way of just talking and just bringing restoring confidence. I mean, I remember very vividly like during the whole Olmo registration saga, him and Paul Victor, he was very like he was like saying stuff like very confidently that he was going to get it done. And I remember like when it was past the deadline, Barca, there was no report of Olmo or Paul Victor getting registered, but somehow they got registered, which was a crazy thing. And I think Laporta does also have sometimes like his word can be true at times. So I feel like the stuff that he does is just very impactful. So yeah, I feel like he was the right candidate, and I think definitely the next 5 years, I think he will do well, and I think he will make some big decisions. And definitely you have to respect the way that he's kind of changed Barca's situation from what it was before, because before it was kind of in ruins with all the debt and just the squad not being that good and a lot of issues. But I think now things have been a bit more stable. I think the money's still a bit lacking. I think the squad can definitely be improved, and definitely we'll talk over the rumors and like just the news around that because that's definitely important as well. But yeah, this whole election, I think I would be interested in him because I think he's interesting, but for now I think Laporta is the right choice.
Yeah, and overall, I do agree with you. I do think Laporta was the best election kind of winner. I do think he did deserve to get reelected, and I think again, as you mentioned, he's a really like a people's person. And at the end of the day, he's a good politician because there has been controversy around him, where the whole Messi saga, and there's also been moments where he kind of favors certain agents like George Mendes, where we only like sign major players from him. And I mean, overall, yeah, he isn't a perfect leader. He isn't always, the best decision maker. But I think overall, I think he's the best president that we could have had. And I would trust him over someone like a Victor Font, who again isn't really as experienced, I would say. And I think overall, yeah, Laporta does deserve to be re-elected from what he did for Barca during even his first tenure and even his second one, where the whole Xavi era, where even before Xavi came in, I mean, we were fully in a horrible situation. He decided to bring Xavi in. He decided to, give him that trust. And unfortunately, we had to part ways with Xavi. And even in this campaign, like Xavi was kind of against him with Victor Fons because of how things ended at Barca. But again, I feel like the Flick appointment also really helped like Laporta's, I guess, backing. And I think yeah, overall, just I think Laporta did bring us back to like our better days at Barca. And again, I do think it's important to trust someone like him. And I mean, another like really funny, I guess, moment in the whole election was the Ter Stegen voting, um, I guess, like saga, and basically like what happened is that Ter Stegen kind of turned up at the Camp Nou to vote, and he got told that he wasn't actually on the list to vote. So that was a pretty crazy moment. And even as like a club captain, he's currently on loan at Girona, injured, and still somehow he was locked out of voting in his own club's election. So it was pretty crazy to see that. And again, I think it was ESPN that reported that he went with like the thousands of members that were, queuing up to vote like everyone else, and he ended up finding out that his membership wasn't updated, so he wasn't actually on the electoral register. So, all players, and they end up becoming socios when they join the club, but it's also their job to keep their membership current. So he just hadn't done it. So that was honestly just a really funny moment. And only at Barca could you see your captain get frozen out of a ballot box in a really important moment in like an election. So again, I just wanted to mention that because that was kind of funny. But um, yeah, what were your thoughts overall on that, just quickly?
On what again? Like the elections, like the
The whole Ter Stegen not getting
oh
to
the Ter
vote and
Stegen
stuff.
thing. Yeah, I feel like yeah, when he's a club captain, I feel like also not just that, but he's like I would say a definitely a legend of the club, one of the best keepers, arguably the best keeper to play for Barca. So it's a bit sad to see honestly because I feel like the way Ter Stegen is like kind of leaving Barca, I feel like it's not on a positive end. I feel like he's had issues with obviously the fans because he's kind of screwed up in some moments and hasn't been as good. Obviously due to his age, he hasn't been as good as a keeper and kind of see the goals. But I feel like with like this last stuff, I think people do kind of forget how good he actually was. Barca career and just how just his entire journey he has been, and the impact he had, and how he's also just a captain. So I will say it's a bit like the stuff that happened. It's a bit sad to see. I can say disrespectful in a way. Just the way that was. I feel like it's a bit unfair because I think he definitely deserved to have a say in the election because he's been in the club for over 10 years now, and yeah, again, club captain. I think he deserved it, but I feel like at the same time, his could end because right now he obviously is on loan. He is injured, but he was on loan, and with how Joan Garcia is right now, I think no one can really replace Joan Garcia as a keeper. So I'm not sure what his next steps are, but yeah, seeing that, I feel like it was a bit like unfair, I'd say. But yeah, but yeah, I saw also a lot of other players vote as well, and they were able to vote, and I'm pretty sure like all of them voted for Laporta as well.
And again, I just feel like the overall situation with Ter Stegen is kind of sad to see because again, I think he is leaving on the wrong foot, and again, a lot of like fans are kind of memeing him and kind of making fun of him, which is kind of sad to see because he is a club captain still, and he was a good player in his time. But again, I do feel for him, and hopefully, this is the overall situation gets sorted out. And honestly, the best thing for him to do right now is just leave Barca in general. I think his time has come, and I think if he just keeps staying, it's just going to make his situation overall worse. But again, congratulations to Laporta for winning the election. I do think we are going to look forward to his new tenure at Barca again. And another person I want to talk about, and like possibly our next president, is Gerard Piqué, who has been rumored to, he has been willing to, I guess, make that decision to come to Barca and be the president. And hopefully, in 2031, I actually do want to see him run for president because I do think a lot of the fans will back him, and I think Laporta will obviously like want to retire soon. So I do think someone like PK, who has shown like the love he has and the passion he has for the club, I do think he could be a really good fit for Barca. And I do think, yeah, I do want to see him kind of take that role in the future. I do think he could be a good fit for Barca as president. But I guess moving on to more the transfer side of things, I think recently there's been a lot of rumors on players that could possibly join Barca and that have been like I guess interested in joining. And one of the major names right now is Bastoni, Alessandro Bastoni from Inter. And I mean, recently there's been rumors that he's been really like willing to join Barca, and obviously with Inter not doing really well in the Champions League, and overall just Inter not being as good of a team as they have been in recent times, I do think a player like Bastoni's, I guess, willing to leave now because I think he does want to have, I guess, a new experience in his career. And I do think a move to Barca where they do need like a really experienced and solid center back. I do think someone like him could actually like make the difference for Flick's side. And again, I do think like even Flick realizes that he could be a really good fit for Barca, because we are kind of missing a left center back that could really, really elevate our game. And at the moment, it's kind of Gerard Martin who's been playing there. But again, he's not like the perfect player for us. I do feel like a refined player like Bastoni could actually make the difference for us. But again, the price tag on him could. There's been rumors that it's around 50 million, but I kind of doubt that. I don't think he's going to be that cheap. But if he is, then that's like a clear, I guess, decision to make that we should go for him. But I do think like the overall price tag would be around maybe 60 to 80 million. I do think that's a bit more realistic. And again, that's kind of expensive at Barca. But recently we've seen that there's been rumors that Barca are really close to being 1-to-1 the ratio for signing players. So that could also be really important. And even players like Lewandowski, who could possibly be leaving, and other like high earning players, they could be possibly leaving this summer. So I do think it's really possible to get a player like Bastoni. And again, I do think it's going to be important for Deco and Laporta to I guess test the waters with them and have conversations going into the summer, because if he is actually open to the move, I think he could be a big, like, I guess, transformative signing for Barca. And another like talking point between the fans, I guess, is that Bastoni might not be the perfect fit because he is more of like a left center back in a three-back system. But I do think something to look at is that again he could really fit Barca, because he is such a good like passing center back. And even though at times he kind of does play like a left back position because DeMarco pushes up so high, I do think even if you look at Gerard Martin, who is a left back, I mean he started in and done really well in Hansi Flick's system. So again, I do think if he can do it, why can't Bastoni? So again, we do know Bastoni's like really class. He does have a lot of technique and ability in himself. So again, I don't really like see the criticism between if he can fit into a four back system. I do think he can. So hopefully like that deal does go over the line. But again, yeah, what are your thoughts on that overall signing?
Yeah, I think one of the main positions that Barca really need is a left center back. I think Gerard Martin, I think this season has been kind of solid, but I still think having a player like Bastoni, who like you said, he's a refined player, he's experienced, he's played on the biggest stages, he's a very good player, he's one of the best in his position. Like, who wouldn't want that? And I think Barca can definitely benefit from having a player like that, who, like you said, is a good passer, and definitely need center backs who are good at passing and just physically built and are very good at making tackles and just important decisions. I feel like he's definitely a player that I think if Barca get we have a very big impact and a very good impact on the squad overall, and definitely brings just more talent to the squad. So I think, like you said, if it's a 50 mil price tag, I think Barca should always go for that. I think it's a bit of I won't say a steal like exactly, but I think it's definitely a very, very good be a very good place to put your money on, like someone like Bastoni for 50 million. I think that's a very good I think it's a very good deal. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I've seen a lot of like reports about that, and I think definitely Barca should definitely go over something like Bastoni. I think we get other left center back options. I mean, we saw that the Schlotterbeck deal kind of like fell through. Like, it's not really gonna happen, it seems. And so I think Bastoni is definitely the best choice as of right now, from what I've kind of seen. And the rumors look like like makes it seem like there's a very very likely chance that something happens. I mean, we've seen reports that Bastoni wants Barca and that Barca wants Bastoni, so maybe we see something in the summer. And yeah, I guess it depends on what the board does. I think I would say Bastoni should be the choice. I think he would definitely beat the strong a lot more stronger, and it'd be very interesting seeing a duo of Bastoni and Cubarsí, doing two ball playing center backs, I'd say. And yeah, obviously two pretty good center backs that like tackling and stuff. So yeah, I think in the system, I think he can play well. Like he changed from a three back to a three back to a four back. I think he would be able to adjust. I mean, we saw Gahey, who was in a three back system before and then just came into a four back system. He's kind of adjusted to that already. I'll say my only issue maybe is just the high line and how he would deal with that, because I'm not too sure how he would adjust to something like that. I'm not too sure, honestly. But yeah, it will be interesting to see that. But yeah, I do hope Barca can get Bastoni. I think that would be a very good signing. We also saw other players, like the attacking players. If you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention. I mean, like we've seen in the past where players have shown like a really like a desire to join Barca. Especially, I want to talk about the Nico Williams case, where he's almost like really like he wanted to join Barca, and there was like a lot of strong links, but at the end he kind of used Barca to get a new deal, a better deal. So hopefully Barca fans should be a bit more cautious this time with Bastoni, because again, he is an Inter player. He is Italian, so maybe he does prefer to stay in Italy. So again, I just wouldn't be too vulnerable about like his rumors. Again, we have to be a bit cautious. He might be, trying to get a new contract, but I do think overall, if he does actually want to join Barca and if he does, want to join this team and I guess be managed under Flick, I do think he can be a big signing for Barca. But again, yeah, who did you want to talk about for our attacking signings?
Well, I mean, cause I also saw like I know like Barca also. I saw the rumors that Barca are going for a striker most likely. And so I mean, I think the options right now we've seen a lot of Alvarez links, and a lot of people also want like Osimhen or maybe Cubarsí. I think those are like
Yeah.
pretty big options.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of Alvarez links. I think Laporta also does like him, but there's also been news recently, like where Laporta does realize that spending up like 90 or 100 million on a player like Alvarez isn't ideal. And again, I think even Flick realizes that Alvarez isn't the type of striker that Barca truly need. He's kind of more of a support striker, which we've seen at City under Holland. And I think instead of an Alvarez type of player, we do need like a Holland type of player, like someone like an Osimhen who can dominate the box and actually is so like physically adept, and even like a player like Jurasi can also do a job at that. And I do think our main priority at the moment should be Osimhen. And yes, he has some like there's been rumors that he has attitude issues, but again, I do think a player like him, if he is managed under Flick, I think Flick is a really good manager. So hopefully he can do that. I mean, he can manage a personality like Osimhen, but again, I did feel like the overall mold of a player. I think Osimhen fits Barca's system the best, and I think again, like he is kind of like a Jurasi type player, but I do think he has that physical kind of side to him where he's more like fast, he's more aggressive and stuff like that. So I think Osimhen would like, honestly be the perfect signing, and if you can tap out for someone with like Bastoni and Osimhen, I think that would be like a 10 out of 10 summer. I think that would be like the perfect signings for Barca to actually transform this team into like something special. And yeah, hopefully those deals go through, but again, someone like an Alvarez isn't the worst signing, but again, I just don't feel like he's a perfect fit for Hansi Flick's system. And there's also been rumors like of a midfield signing, someone like a McAllister who could be rumored to be leaving Barca. I mean, sorry, Liverpool, and even like a Tonali who's also been rumored to leaving Newcastle. So again, I don't think we really are desperate for a midfielder, but I do think if there's an option, I do think the board and Laporta could look into getting a market opportunity on a cheap deal for someone like that. So yeah, I mean, overall, I do prefer someone like center back first. I do think Bastoni would be perfect. There's been rumors about like Senesi as well, but again, I do feel Bastoni is like the ideal signing, and he might be more expensive, but I do think he's kind of like deserving of that price tag. And again, with the striker signing, I think that's our like second most important situation. I think if someone like a Lewandowski leaves, and if even Ferran is listed on the market, I think it's going to be really, really important to sign a striker like Osimhen. But yeah, what are your thoughts overall?
Yeah, I think like you mentioned, the Alvarez price tag is definitely gonna be very expensive because he's still a young player, and I think a player that's definitely like this season I think has been very. He has some like a pretty good peak at the start of the season, and I think recently he's been doing well. So he won't be cheap or anything at all. He'll definitely be a pretty good price tag. But I feel like he's not the type of profile that Barca really need. I think Osimhen will actually be probably one of the better options because he's young and also he has like a certain profile that I think would work in Flick's system where he's very good at pressing and a very good striker. So I feel like he would definitely be one of the better signs. But obviously he has his own issues like the attitude stuff. I'm not sure how that would work. But I feel like with Barca, I feel like you can like players at Barca usually maintain a good attitude. So I feel like if you were to join, I feel like we won't really see those attitude issues much. And I feel like with a manager like Flick who's very big on discipline, I feel like he won't really do that stuff towards Flick. So I think if anything happens, Flick will handle it right. So I think also going to be a good option. I think Grassy also is the option that I think well, he likes the field that poacher look a huge box presence and would definitely improve Barca's I would say attacking chances on just the crosses and just the corners as well. And he's a very good goal scorer as well, a very versatile goal scorer. So I feel like he would also be interesting. I'll say the only thing about him though is he's kind of like older. He's like around 30, and so he's kind of more of a short-term replacement rather than like a long-term one. I mean, like a lot of like Barca have had like a player like Suarez, who's more of a long-term player who, like, when he came, he was at a decent age and he was playing for a while. So I feel like Barca do need like a striker like that who can do well. And yeah, I mean, it's very. I mean, Yeah, I'm pretty interested to see. I think like closer to the summer and to the window, we'll see really who Barca are really probably going to get because I think like last window we saw the player that Barca targeted and how Barca pretty much signed them. Like Rashford and Joan Laporta were the main ones, and both were signed. So to the window, we'll see who Barca really want because it changes a little bit of time. So it's not able to say because I feel like not much is really going to happen. And what else was I gonna say? I mean, that's pretty much it. I feel like yeah. I wonder if Barca will also sign Rashford on a permanent, because that'll be interesting as well. Whether Barca sign him, or if he doesn't get signed and Barca go for someone else, I guess. Which I'm not too sure how that would go. But yeah,
Yeah, and with the whole overall like Barca transfer situation, again, we aren't the richest of clubs. I think again financially we aren't like fully secure. And again, there have been rumors that we are back to 1-1. But again, we can't take that for granted. I do think if we are going to sign players, we do have to sign like quality signings and not like kind of transition signings where even like a Cancelo. Again, yes, he's been performing well, but I don't think he was the best signing that we could have got because again, he's an aging player and he's like at the near end of his career. So again, someone like that, I don't think we should sign. I think if we are going to sign someone, like we have to sign someone that's entering their prime, like a Bastoni or like a Osimhen. So hopefully the board does take that into consideration. But I mean, the summer is like quite a bit away. So again, the rumors are going to keep going, and I guess as we get closer to the summer, the rumors going to heat up. So hopefully that we do sign smartly, and hopefully the overall board just does well in targeting signings that actually help Flick and actually build a squad even better. But overall, I mean, that wraps up our Barca roundup. I mean, again, to wrap up, Laporta's locked in for another 5 years. And there was that whole Ter Stegen moment and a lot of rumors going on around Barca's camp, including Bastoni, a possible striker signing like Osimhen, and a lot of a long summer wish list like with a lot of players floating around. So again, no one like really confirmed yet, but yeah, there's a lot of rumors going around the Barca camp. But let us know your thoughts down in the comments. Are you happy that Laporta got another 5 years to be the president of Barca? Would you spend around 80 million or over on Bastoni if it meant selling a big name? Or and also, which rumor signs would you get most excited about if they were to join Flick and the team? But as always, drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below, as I mentioned before. But yeah, follow us on all our socials and make sure you don't miss out the next pod. But thank you for listening and goodbye.
goodbye.